Welcome to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.
What are humanoids? Do they necessarily come from UFOs? If one turns up on your doorstep bearing messages, can you trust him or her or it?
Hey there, and welcome to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. This is our 170th edition of our Monday Drive Time show on WOON 1240 AM and www.oneworldwide.com. I'm Ben, and asking those questions was my co-host and partner in the paranormal, my dad.
Thank you, Ben. And this is a live show today, even though it's a big holiday in the USA. A happy Labor Day to everything. How do you have a happy Labor? Labor over the barbecue or something. Anyway, so happy one, whatever you do to do so. Please feel free to call in. As I say, we are live today locally at 401-766-1240 and nationally at 800-449-1240.
All right, so it's that time of the week, our weekly paranormal contest. Oh, everyone loves that weekly paranormal contest.
Well, you love doing it. I know that. Live for it.
Oh, you bet I do. All right, what year did... last week's question first. So in what year did the so-called killer ghost strike eastern Kentucky? And the answer is 1938. And the winner is no one.
Nobody got the answer right. It was every year but 1938, but this case was a strange one. There was a fellow named Carl Pruitt who supposedly killed his unfaithful wife, and there were similar deaths involving chains in eastern Kentucky that year, blamed on his ghost. Nobody actually saw the ghost, but there are a lot of interesting stories. That raises a very interesting question: can ghosts hurt people? I have been hurt by poltergeists. I haven't been killed, as far as I know, but who knows? Anything is possible in the paranormal.
All right, so moving right along, this week's question is, where in England is the so-called talking tree? So if you think you can handle that, call us locally at 401-766-1240 or from anywhere in the U.S. at 800-449-1240. If I don't announce a winner during the show and you still think you have a shot, drop a line to me at benditbehindtheparanormal.com. And the winner gets a copy of Footsteps in the Attic by my dad, and it's his most popular book. Just throw that in there.
Thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.
While he might not be the most famous name in paranormal research, Albert S. Rosales for many years has been a tireless, behind-the-scenes researcher of encounters with humanoid creatures. He has compiled the world's largest database of humanoid encounters, reaching back as far as the year 2357 BC. I'd say that's a pretty complete list. Albert was born in Santa Clara, Cuba in 1961, left the island with his parents and moved to Madrid, Spain in 1967. He immigrated to the U.S. in 1968. After high school, he spent 4 years in the U.S. Navy as a radioman. After college, Albert worked with his father in the jewelry business, and now he works in the security field, and he still pursues tireless work in the field of compiling these cases. His websites websites that involve him include www.iraap.org and www.ufoinfo.com.
Albert Rosales, welcome to Behind the Paranormal.
Hi.
Albert
Happy Labor Day, guys.
Oh, yeah, thank you. However you do that, let us know. So, we're laboring here. I don't know if anybody else is. Albert, let me say, first of all, thank you for your service in the Navy, first of all, and thank you for giving up part of your holiday to be with us, and we're truly honored to have you because, and I have to say this, it's people like you who put in the months and years of work to gather the information, classify the types of encounters, and make the information available, who are the true backbone of paranormal research. People like you don't get much credit or limelight. You don't write a lot of books. You don't make a big living from this. And people don't pay $75 a pop to hear you talk, but they should. So thank you for all your hard work.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Ben, got our first question. Take it away, Ben.
Right. So, Albert, again, thank you for what you do. So, now for those who haven't seen Star Trek, what exactly is a humanoid?
Well, a humanoid is an entity or a creature that in most aspects resembles a human, but has certain differences. Mostly it has 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head. Now, after that, according to my catalog here, I have like hundreds, maybe perhaps thousands different type of humanoids. that have been reported worldwide. But that's the closest definition I can tell you. It's something, an entity or a human being which resembles a human, but it's not a human.
Okay, well, I guess I kind of answered the second question. How many types? Right. Yeah. How many kinds have you identified was the second question, but you kind of answered there. So thousands, huh?
Okay. Well, it's many different. We're not only dealing here with the little gray humanoids that we're so familiar with Hollywood film and close encounters.
All right. How do you find the humanoid reports that you catalog?
Well, most of them I research them. I contact different groups worldwide. I visit their websites. I have hundreds of magazines and books, and a lot of these reports are translated by me. Many of them through the automatic translation, and many of them I could translate myself. Some of the languages like Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, they're easy. But I have contacts worldwide, and I have an extensive library online and books and magazines.
Okay.
I collect all these reports.
Do you work on this every day?
Yeah, you could say yes. I usually try to update it and correct it every day. I try to.
Okay. Like, say in a typical week, how many reports will you find that you feel are worthy to be added to the catalog, to the list?
Well, maybe 20 or 30 or more.
All right. And these are new things that sort of just happened.
Well, not necessarily. Many of them are like old reports that I find from different sources.
Okay.
Once in a while, I do get a call or information from somebody reporting a new encounter.
All right. Okay.
All right. So, what's the most common kind of humanoid encounter, and where do you think they come from?
Well, that's a difficult question. Now, lately, I have noticed that a very common type of encounter has been what I call a bedroom visitation, meaning...
Well, that sounds encouraging.
Yeah, you're at home and you wake up in the middle of the night, suddenly you're unable to move, paralyzed, and there's something or someone there in the bedroom with you, a humanoid form, short or tall, whatever. But that's been very common lately. And lately I have noticed also reports of shadow creatures or beings have been reported. As far as the most common, I can't really say. Maybe the short humanoid with a large head.
Okay.
It's been popular, per se, lately, or since the 80s. We have all different types, I can tell you, I can assure you.
I mean, our whole approach to the paranormal, Ben's and mine, and there are a few other investigators, and we concentrate, and ours is mainly on ghost research, although it leads frequently into what you might call humanoids, UFOs. Our whole work involves now the whole paranormal.
Right.
Our idea is that these are interworld interactions, interdimensional interactions, and that's why there are so many kinds of, say, UFOs or humanoids or ghosts or whatever. It's all the same process. What do you think of that? I mean, what's your conclusion about where these many different kinds come from and how they get here? I mean, does that make any sense to you? And
yeah, it makes total sense. I think you're absolutely right. I think there's more of an interdimensional connection here than interstellar connection.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think we're dealing more with beings or visitations from other dimensions, which could be multiple dimensions. I'm not saying that we haven't been visited by other creatures from other planets. I'm not discarding that at all, but I think we're dealing with interdimensional creatures and entities. Some of them could be confused as ghosts or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's the connection there.
Yeah, no, that's why it makes such sense to us. People sometimes point out on the show that, well, it could be both. Maybe people from other planets use other dimensions to get here. The wormhole thing and all. So anything is possible in the paranormal. That's why it's so exciting. But, okay, now, have you ever had a humanoid experience yourself?
Yes, I have experienced this. Mostly when I was a younger man in Cuba. I could tell you one right off the top of my head. I was walking on the corridor of my home from the kitchen, and there was a mirror on the wall, and I looked in the mirror, and in the mirror I saw a figure of a man, which to this day I clearly remember that he had a beard, and he had like a helmet, and he was smiling. Somehow he resembled a little bit like an old Spanish soldier. I don't know. So
interesting.
I don't know what type of entity or humanoid was this, but it was definitely there. It scared me, and I ran to my mother. Of course, she didn't pay any attention to me.
Yeah.
But I clearly remember that experience.
Interesting. Were you afraid? Were you excited, or just surprised?
I was just surprised, and I didn't know what to do. I was, I don't know. And then I became scared, of course.
Yeah.
Being young, many times I have been involved in what you call like when you're awake and you're unable to move.
The sleep paralysis kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. A presence in the room. That's happened a couple times.
Okay. Let me just remind everybody here, our call-in numbers today is usually Albert, a lot of people stuck in traffic, they call, but the numbers today, locally, 401-766-1240, nationally, anywhere in the USA, 800-449-1240. We're talking with Albert Rosales here on WOON 1240 AM and ONWorldwide.com. And this is really getting interesting here. So you had this mirror experience and maybe one or two sleep paralysis kind of things. Has anything else happened to you regarding humanoids?
Many times when you have these experiences, at the time of the experience, you hardly notice what happened. You see something and it doesn't register right away. And then later on you go, wait a minute. What was that?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
And I think I have a little write-up that I did about my experiences. I can't find it right now. I have it in my computer somewhere. But I remember one time also, this is back in Cuba, everybody was outside. I think this is maybe 64, 63, and back at the time there were a lot of like blackouts, electricity blackouts, and everybody was outside sitting around, and all of a sudden there was an object over the house across the street, big bright object like an egg, metallic, and everyone around just started shouting, the American, they blame it on the Americans. Okay?
Yeah.
So,
like today.
Right, well, yeah, nothing's changed. But I ran to the back of the house, there was a yard, I guess following the object, which had flown across the street. Everybody else seemed to ignore it after a few minutes. But I remember it stood up there in the air. I don't know how high it was, and I stood right under it looking at it. Till all of a sudden I seemed to snap awake, and I was like it was gone. But I just sat there, and I was real late, and I was surprised that my mother or my father hadn't been out there looking for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just walked back into the house and went to sleep. But I have no idea how long I stood out there. I had never been, regressed or anything like that. So
well, that would be interesting if you were. Well, Ben's got another question here, but before he does, there are two things you mentioned that were very interesting. One was what you just said, the sort of snapping out of it kind of thing.
Right.
People often report, and I've had it myself, that experience of almost like a slide and a slide projector changing, and like it blacks out for just a second, and you're back where you were. That kind of thing,
Right.
And you have the experience, and it's like something black, and then there's the experience. It's like, for a moment, your consciousness may be crossing the border of another world or something like that. I think that's possible.
Well, yeah, I think that's what happens in what they call lucid dreaming.
Oh, yeah, right, that's right. Yeah. And it's funny, you and I, off the air, were talking about that, because more and more people are reporting lucid dreams, and lucid dreams used to be kind of an achievement. That lucid dreams being when you're having a dream. In case anybody doesn't know what it is, and you're dreaming, and you're able to exert a certain amount of control over what happens in the dream. It's can be very interesting and exciting. So that's quite a bit. I don't want to step on Ben here. So go ahead and ask your next question.
Right. So what are the weirdest cases you've run into? As I know it's a hard question because you've seen a lot of cases. But
not necessarily it's happened to you, but ones in your list.
In my catalog.
Yeah.
The ones that are really interesting to me are the ones that people report different type of humanoids or creatures together.
Really?
Let's say, yeah. I remember a case back from November '73. This is a time there was a huge wave of sightings in the U.S. But this is in France. A couple, they were parked like at the edge of a small village there in a night, or sitting there. I don't know what they were doing. I don't want to go into that, but all of a sudden they saw an object land nearby field, and of course they sat there staring at the object, and something opened like a hatch or something, and they saw two short figures come out of the 2 or 3 short figures, like the typical short humanoid, slightly large head, wasn't a big head, and they walked around, and after they came out, 2 men came out of the object. These men were described tall, real tall, blonde hair, wearing tight-fitting suits, silver in color. Now, this is the most weird part. Now comes next. About a couple minutes later, something came out of the craft, and this something that they described as resembling a large ape, maybe a Bigfoot type creature.
Mm-hmm.
But to them, it looked like a big ape. And it stood next to the craft the whole time, did not move anywhere, while the other creatures moved around. 2 men didn't get too far away from the UFO. The 3 short creatures came up to the car, not too far, and that scared the witnesses, which made them leave the area. But that's it's more common than you think, that type of report, when they have different type of creatures together. Yeah.
Okay.
I can send you a short. I'll send the report to you so you can read it.
Yeah, that sounds good. Maybe we can put it on our talking points page for this show. Sometimes we put stuff up after the show happens. Okay. Well, Ben has another question here.
All right. Okay. So, what should people do if they encounter a humanoid, especially if it tries to give them a message?
You know what? If they do, if some type of humanoid tries to relay a message or give somebody a message, I would just wait and see what it does. I wouldn't attempt to approach a humanoid or an entity or run up to it or shine a light at it or anything like that, because it could be interpreted as an aggression. I wouldn't try to do that. I would just let them, do whatever they want to do. If they want to communicate, let them communicate. I wouldn't, initiate it myself. I wouldn't recommend that.
Among the cases that you've done, thousands of cases, I suppose it's not an easy question, but in what percentage of cases, just ballpark, would you say that an entity tries to convey a message of some kind, or at least, or even tries to communicate in some way?
I think more than initially that I thought. I think maybe 40%.
Really?
There's an attempt at communication. Ranging from verbal speech, mental communication, hand signals, all type of communication. Even invitation to come with them.
Really?
You want to fly with us, or you want to go with us? One witness asked them, "No, I can't go. How long would I be gone?" They go, "Well, we'll bring you back in 2 months."
Fly the friendly skies.
Yeah, he of course he refused.
Yeah, probably was. Well, we often run into entities we refer to as parasites. Now, again, in ghost research and in tradition, they can call demons and all different negative things like this. And as I say, we often find the boundaries of paranormal phenomena blurring. Your ghosts, humanoids, UFOs, alien, whatever terms we use is often a similar phenomena. And our problem is that we run into entities that don't tell the truth. Okay, and I could never get over in 40 years of working in this field that people would use like Ouija boards or some form of communication, and they believe everything they're told. And as I say, I don't believe half the people I meet on the street, never mind, some entity coming through some stupid board or something.
No, so, I wouldn't recommend that everything they tell you will be trusted. Like, have you heard of the trickster?
Oh, yes.
The entity called the trickster that's been around for millennium.
Yeah, Ben was just down on the Navajo Reservation in Arizona earlier this year. And,
that was a good time.
Yeah.
I heard there was something going on in one of the reservations. There are different type of encounters there.
I've seen I saw some pretty interesting stuff while I was there.
Okay. You heard of the skinwalker?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I was talking to a native kid about skinwalkers, actually, because he didn't want to be inside with everybody else. We were just hanging out outside, and he was like, "You ever heard of skinwalkers?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like explaining all the stuff that he saw, like he's seen like skinwalkers and things like that.
I definitely believe that that's one other type of humanoid.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because it's logical that you bring it up because one of the most famous cases right now, and it's very mysterious because we've been trying to get them on the show, and if we say so ourselves, this is considered a prominent show, and most of the big names have been on, but we have trouble getting anybody to come on who worked on the Skinwalker Ranch case, that from Utah,
right.
And talk about an example of multiverse activity. People, and these are research scientists, have reported that they would, be looking over a hill or something, and down below they would see a hole open in the thin air, and creatures come through, and UFOs coming through holes in the sky, and cattle being moved en masse instantly into you name it, and it has that poltergeist activity.
That some kind of portal will open up, and this creature will jump out of the portal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we're working on it, and we're going to get somebody on the show about that. We're happy to have you. It took us a while to get you because your schedule, I guess, is pretty busy.
Well, that will be interesting, definitely.
It will be interesting, and I don't want to just betray any confidences here, but our good friend Phil Imbrogno, who is a scientist, we saw him at the Exeter UFO conference. Ben and I went up there to cover that, and it was really nice. We were I want to thank everybody in Exeter, New Hampshire. The folks were great, especially Steve Fermani from MUFON. They gave us a beautiful little place to sit there. We got to hear all the lectures, and we were able to set up our stuff and do some interviews for the show, which we'll play on a show coming up. Stan Friedman was there, and certainly our good friend Phil Imbrogno, as I say, who was working. He's very, very into our point of view on.
I love his books.
Isn't it great? Yeah.
He has new material all the time. The new book he has is Files from the Edge.
Yeah.
I have it, and it's excellent work.
Well, he was telling us yesterday his next one is going to be called Portals, or something like that. Yep, and he's developed or is developing a device. He's working with Rosemary Ellen Guiley and a few other people on some interdimensional communications devices, and we're not just talking EVPs here. We're talking something deeper, and he says he's not going to sell it to ghost hunters, he said. So anyway, we had a great conversation, and he's going to talk more about that when we play the interview on another show. But what you were talking about really made me think of Phil and the fine work that he's doing. Okay, we're going to take a slight commercial break here, and we'll be right back on Behind the Paranormal on WON 1240 AM or ONWorldwide.com with our good friend Albert Rosales talking about humanoids. I just wanted to mention, we're going to do a live commercial here, something I don't usually do. Our good friends at America.
You've been doing it every week, so you've
been since last week anyway.
No, 3 weeks.
All right.
This is the third week.
You want to do this?
Well, no. You're the one holding the pamphlet.
That's right. American Beauty Sign Works, our good friends here in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. They do great work. Whenever Ben and I go on the road with a show here or go to a conference or something, they do our signage for us and do a fine job. And it's quick. And if you are anywhere listening, it doesn't matter, you don't have to be in our area, www.absignworks.com. They'll send any place in the world, do fine work, they'll send it along. As I say, it's quick, just tell them what you want. And you'll love dealing with the Hancock family. It's a family business with Kurt, and they have, and Oscar, who is one of the most pleasant people I know. They do vehicle wraps, banners, truck lettering, A-frames. What's an A? Oh, yeah, one of those A-frame signs. Magnets, business cards, envelopes, letterheads, corrugated signs. You get some job printing here. Gold leaf, neon signs, all kinds of things. And they do some beautiful work right around here in the Blackstone Valley in Rhode Island and Massachusetts as well. So give them a call. They're in Warwick, Rhode Island at 903 Warwick Avenue, 401-372-2790. And in Woonsocket here, 345 Providence Street, 401-767-2922 are the location. And again, that website, www.absignworks.com. Check them out. Truck lettering, anything you want, they do a great job. Okay, there we are. So let's get back now to our conversation on humanoids here on Behind the Paranormal with Albert Rosales, who maintains the world's largest database of these rather amazing encounters with human-like creatures. Now, Albert, I'm sure that's one thing that's on your list was the so-called green children, who appeared in Europe at certain periods.
In Wolfit, back in, I have it in here somewhere, and I have that case.
Yeah.
And there was supposedly another one similar to that in Spain later on, but I don't know if that one's a real one or not.
Well, that's the thing. Well, how do you tell whether a case is real or not, or what steps can you take? Obviously, you can't.
It's really it's really almost impossible now. The only time you can really, if you get a local case that I would get referred to, or somebody will call me, or that I could go myself and talk to the witness. Mm-hmm. But any other cases that you can't believe everything they tell you, like you say, and everything you read. Of course, I don't. I just try to catalog everything.
Yeah. Well, 30 years in the newspaper business, I assure you don't believe everything you read.
But most of the time, you can tell. You can tell if somebody's trying to. And I had that happen to me. People contacting me, and I knew right away that, And I just said, okay, I'll call you back.
Let me suggest something to you right now before I forget, because our show has 5 or more field reporters who are, pretty well checked out by Ben and me before they become reporters for the show.
Yeah.
And they are they're all over the country, and we have one in Europe, and we're working on one possibly in India. If you have reports that you'd like to have checked out that you can't do yourself, let us know, and if they can do it, they'd be happy to assist in that, because this is an important research tool that you're working. So please feel free to call upon us for that. We'd be happy to help.
I don't know if you saw my newsletter. I had a recent one from Utah, Salt Lake City.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have anybody there. A security guard encountered some kind of weird creature while he was patrolling, and according to him, the creature was bipedal, but when it bent down and it moved with with the legs and hands on the floor, and it was tall, it was black color and a large head. It was really weird. I have it written down, and this happened maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Well, knowing the security business, that might have been his supervisor. Actually, no, seriously, we have people in Arizona, Indiana, Missouri, Florida. So maybe... send us the details. I'll see if Kyle Dayton, our good friend in Phoenix, is our reporter down there. Maybe you should have some way to check that out.
All right.
Okay, great. Excellent. All right, that sounds like a really strange one.
It sounds like a hoot.
Go ahead, Ben.
I was just saying it sounds like a hoot.
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention to Albert too that very often one of the things we always ask in cases is how many people have seen this, and you seem to point out a lot of cases, Albert, where many people have witnessed these things, or at least more than one.
More than one.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, so do you ever do like not background checks, but check and see if there's like any mental health history with the people that have reported these sightings?
The people that have contacted me with sightings or reports, I haven't had I haven't really done that.
Yeah, we do that because we work on cases.
It was just
individually.
Regular question.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to do that, but
yeah.
Okay, have you ever had occasion to have multiple reports from the same people? In other words, have you noticed any patterns with certain people who may have repeated encounters with the same or different entities?
Well, yeah, those type of reports are known as repeaters.
Oh, okay.
These are people, or maybe people that claim to have, more than one encounter with the same type of entity or entities. And these are very common also. They, let's say, maybe they had a sighting back in 1977 and they encounter an entity, and maybe a year on after that, they have another encounter, and so on, and they keep having encounters. Those are repeaters. They're called repeater encounters.
Okay.
Which are fairly common also.
Okay.
Myself, I had several encounters, but I don't consider myself a repeater or contactee or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay, we started to talk about the green children, and we didn't finish. I guess we got sidetracked. But the green children, as I understand it, were literally green-colored children. And what did Kermit say? It's not easy being green. Well, especially not for these guys. They turned up in the mouths of caves or in certain villages and claimed, according to the local stories, claimed to be from some place inside the earth.
Right.
If nothing else, indicating that not all these guys come from UFOs. So, has that ever happened in America, as far as you know, or is it just those? I know of 2 incidents from Europe where that occurred, and that's all I know about it.
I'm trying to think. There's many cases like that in Europe, especially in Eastern Europe, Russia, the former Russian provinces that now are countries now. The most famous one is the one in England about the wool pit. Now, in the U.S., if there has been a case like that with entities claiming to come from underground, I think there has been, but most of these entities have been reported to have been like resembling the Bigfoot type creatures.
Oh, okay, all right.
But no direct communication with a witness claiming, But the witnesses claim that they have seen these creatures emerge out of a cave.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your interpretation of Bigfoot? A lot of the natives say it's a shapeshifter, interdimensional being, something more than just a big ape. But what's your opinion from the cases you studied?
Well, it's definitely an intelligent being that has powers that, far beyond that we think. I think Bigfoot is an intelligent creature, perhaps interdimensional.
Okay.
I don't think we're ever going to catch one. I don't think so. I don't think it's flesh and blood.
Yeah, I tend to agree. One of the incidents we had around this area were big cat sightings. Now in New England, we have not had, because this is not a humanoid, obviously, felinoid or what. Well, and they have begun to come back in, and it's created all kinds of out-of-place creature reports. But I wanted to get to a couple of emails here, because very often we yak through the show and we don't get to them. This is for you from Paul Forsberg in Redding, California. Ben?
All right, and Paul writes, I really admire your work. Paul and Ben will probably ask you during the show, but what do you think of their multiverse theories? Do you think the many kinds of humanoids that are reported could be interdimensional creatures?
Well, I think I just said that. I think that's my main theory right there. That most of them are definitely interdimensional.
Okay, just wanted to give Paul his due there. This is from Brittany Freeman in Cape May, New Jersey. This is an interesting one.
All right, and Brittany writes to us, I wonder if Mr. Rosales has ever encountered flying humanoids. I guess the Jersey Devil isn't a humanoid, but I've always been haunted by a story my grandma used to tell me, but only when she had a few drinks. She swore that she had seen the Jersey Devil, a black horse-like face, looking in her second-floor window, but it was just still, not like it was like flapping or anything. Have you ever heard reports of something like that?
Flying humanoids,
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about those, but they've been very popular lately. There have been a lot of reports of flying type of Mothman type creatures were reported last year in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, I know already a couple reports of flying humanoids.
Wow, can you tell us about those?
I'll tell you right now, there was one in California in January of this year. Redding, not Redding, California, but Chula Vista, California. Now, this humanoid, according to the witness, appeared to be man-like, like a figure of a human, but appeared to be encased in some kind of suit, like a metallic suit, and it was flying horizontally over the area. It didn't have any wings or anything like that, but it was definitely a flying humanoid.
One of the theories of these flying humanoids is that they're balloons, and I've seen one or two of the Phoenix, Arizona sightings where it just looked like balloons to me. Others looked like balloons, but they weren't acting like balloons. I mean, they were flying horizontally, because I suppose it depends on the wind at the site. What's your thought on hoaxes? How easy it is to hoax something like that?
Well, yeah, there's been definitely hoaxes dealing with this type of flying humanoid. People have let go of balloons shaped like a little figure or whatever, and then they film it and it flies around. But I think if it's balloon, you can tell right away, because balloon it's not going to fly level flight, then it's going to stop and then descend and then go up again.
Right.
Yeah, I think you can tell. If you're know you're looking at it, I think you can tell right away if it's a balloon or not.
Okay. There's a famous YouTube video that both of us are fascinated with, and it's the famous the bruja, the witch from, I guess it was near Monterrey in Mexico. But there was a spate of these sightings, and a police officer who looked scared to death to me claimed that this thing was in a tree and landed in front of his car, was a humanoid figure. Right. He associated it with a witch, scared the daylights out of him, and there's a video of this, what looks like a figure. I know you know what I'm talking about. A figure walking along a ridge, and just when it gets to the edge of the ridge, just keeps going in the air and just sort of floats across. What's your opinion of that video? You think that's legit, or what's happening there?
I've seen it repeatedly.
Yeah.
And every time I see it, I try to find something that will tell me that it's a fake, but I don't know.
So do I.
Because there's been other fakes definitely out there in Mexico dealing with flying humanoids, and you know which ones these are. They right away, and then somebody will come up, and no one has ever come out and shown this video itself to be a fake.
Yeah.
I know the researchers down there, and I remember that case from the police officer. That was back in 2004, in January.
Yeah, that's right.
Very, very weird case.
Very, very strange. But you said, so what are these recent cases you mentioned? You mentioned one with the sort of this figure in a suit flying over. What else has happened like this year, last year?
I'm trying to look at my 2000. I know in 2009 there's been some reports. I'm trying to look at my cases here.
Actually, I have a couple of pages of your 2010 log here that we.
And 2010, one of them that should talk about a couple flying humanoid cases under the current case log report.
Okay.
But I'm looking for some others here that I can find, recent ones for 2009. But
yeah,
like I say, they're more common than you think.
I'm looking at one here, and my compliments on the. These aren't just 2 or 3 sentences that Albert writes here. They're whole stories that go with these cases. I'm looking at one here on June 22nd, 2010, around 2000. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. The witness was walking his dog at his summer cottage near Lake Erie in western New York State, and the sun was just beginning to go down behind the scenes, casting a beautiful fractured light on the front of the house. In the distance could be heard the sound of his neighbor's ATV driving around undeveloped wetlands, and the dog began acting erratically. You want to take it from there?
Go ahead.
Okay, but
I don't have it in front of me.
Pulling on the leash to go back inside and turning his head toward the sky, looking this way and that, he spoke to him asking what was wrong and looked around to see what was disturbing him other than the noise in the woods. This is when he saw a peculiar winged creature flying down from out of the woods across the front of the house. And there's a very Mothman-like picture here. Mothman's a popular guy on this show.
Right.
The creature's wings were about 3 inches across. The wings were transparent and rounded at the end. So this is a small figure.
That was a weird, because it sounded to me like some type of fairy type creature. You know?
Well, the reason I cite this case is because Ben and I, in a way, had a similar, I guess, encounter at the Freetown State Forest.
Oh, that. Oh.
With the yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything as dramatic as this.
That was trippy.
Maybe we should have brought a dog. But we had gone over to the Bridgewater Triangle area, which is very near where we live. It's only, 20 miles, if that.
Yeah, not even.
Oh, really?
And the Freetown State Forest in Massachusetts has a very strange reputation. There are UFOs, Bigfoot, humanoid encounters, giant snakes. Not that I'd want to run into that. But we were in a beautiful location by a lake, middle of nowhere. And we felt very strongly we were being watched. Snapped a few pictures, and these pictures are on the Talking Points page, not for this show, but a couple of shows back. People look at them, they'll find them. And it was just such a little creature that seemed to come out in this thing. Now I have photographic training from the military. Maybe you do too. And, taking pictures in woods is always fraught with peril. I mean, you've got all kinds of plays of light, leaves are moving, right. And there's all kinds of... And your eye will take it and make it look like something.
Yes, the mulcra.
Yeah. But if you have flesh tones, that's other than mushrooms, that's a very unusual color in nature, at least around New England, right? And in the woods. So there were very interesting figures, two seemingly like figures who were relatively small and looked almost like they were dressed like monks. At least one of them did. And anyway, these pictures are on the BehindTheParanormal.com website under the Talking Points page for that show, which is a couple of weeks ago. So reading this case in New York kind of reminded me of that, because every time we talk about fairies on this show, people write in with their own experiences.
Right.
And there was one very much like the one that you talk about here in New York State, and there was another one, I think we read it last week, the week before, where a woman was driving down in her car, and a fairy-like creature stopped the car, and she got home, like trying to warn her, and like she got home, and like her husband had died. Maybe it's coincidence, maybe she imagined the whole thing, I mean, who knows? Well, we're coming down to the end of our hour here, but I did want to ask one more. Do you have any questions as we go here? Cause
I'm good.
Okay.
You just do your thing.
I wanted to ask about invisible friends. We had Cassandra Eason from England on several times, a good friend of ours, and she writes, among other things, about psychic children and the experiences children sometimes have with invisible friends, some of which or whom can be described as humanoids. Have you encountered many cases of children reporting invisible friends whom you might call humanoids?
I have, in my search for cases, for different humanoid cases, I have found a lot of cases in which people have reported invisible humanoids. Now, some of these people have been children, and some of them are adults. A lot of these invisible humanoids are related to UFOs, others not. Now, as far as invisible play friends for the children, I have some friends, an adult friend that has two children, female children, that one of them claims to have an invisible friend, and my friend doesn't like to talk about it a lot, but she claims that her daughter, well, at least one of them, is highly psychic and interact a lot with this supposedly invisible. But that's the only personal experience encounter that I had with that type of report.
Okay.
A child reporting an invisible friend.
Right.
I know it's a common thing in the paranormal.
Yeah. Well, again, that's where the things overlap in the paranormal.
Yeah.
So now we come down to the ultimate questions. We always try and do that on this show. What does all this mean? I mean, I certainly just the nature of the universe being a multiverse, if that's true, would explain a lot of this. But one thing I'm always intrigued by is that when we have multiple world experiences, like when people disappear for 2 hours and they find themselves in a neighborhood they don't recognize or are aboard a UFO, supposedly, we usually get confused and scared. But a lot of these things seem to come across the boundary into our reality, and they seem to know exactly what they're doing. And sometimes they seem to do things that aren't good for us, like, give us false information or even act in a hostile manner, such as a poltergeist does. I mean, what's your take on what's really going on here? Or is it just random?
I don't know. Paul, it's hard to say. I'm thinking that we are not alone here in our world. We are sharing our world with multiple realities.
Yeah.
That a lot of people are not aware of, and they should become aware. I think somebody's trying to tell us something. Somebody's trying to tell us to wake up to what's going on around us.
Mm-hmm.
What really is going on, to the other dimension, the other possible existences is all around us. That I think is part of it. I think it's some kind of maybe somebody trying to wake us up. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So, that leads into the next question. Is there any kind of pattern you have found when it comes to messages that these creatures give to people? In other words, is there a pattern of, as you just say, wake up, or something's going to happen, or are they personal messages?
No, a lot of the messages, the pattern that I have found are like warning of future events, catastrophes.
Okay. For everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically for Earth.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty inclusive, I guess. Well, connected with 2012 or what? Is there somehow we always end up on that subject?
I don't know, because a lot of these incidents, let's say maybe they had an encounter back in '87, and they tell him 30 years from now the Earth is going to go through 87, 30 years later. What's that? That's
Oh, well, that's 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a real event that occurred in Panama back in '87.
Okay.
This guy was supposedly abducted, and he was told that sometime after 2012 or 11, something was going to happen. There's a lot of cases like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what to.
Well, yeah. Well, there are a lot of cases. What makes me suspicious is that the timelines don't always agree.
No, they don't.
And although, I mean, if you talk to, we have a frequent guest, Dierlan, author of Heaven's Wave, the novel, who is on the show once in a while, and he says you have to take some of this in context, because it could be 2012, and it could be something good, it could be nothing, I don't know, but it could also be 2016, and then there's another expert that says everybody's reading it wrong, and it's 2049. When whatever change, if there is a change, does occur. So who knows? And unfortunately, that's the question the paranormal often leaves us with is, what do you really know? And that's
maybe they're not using the same time frame that we have.
Maybe not. Yeah. So when they suggest that something's going to happen, do they suggest a solution? In other words, come with me across the boundary into my world, and you'll be safe, or work for universal peace and everything will be great, or learn to talk to the hummingbirds, or what?
No, a solution, if they do, it's usually one that's complicated, and according to the witness, he's not supposed to remember till when it happened.
Well, that doesn't seem to be very constructive.
And they're told that they've been chosen for something and for the future, when something happens, something like that, and those are the type of cases that you hear.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, why would you want to talk to hummingbirds anyway?
Well, what do you got against hummingbirds? They're very nice. They hum.
They'll just be like, "Just give me flowers." That's really all they'll care about.
Oh dear. Well, you have some interesting experiences. I don't know if I want to get into them on the air, but I mean, when you meditate.
Oh, well, I don't see, like, flying humanoids just like, come here.
Yeah, right.
I want to talk to hummingbirds.
Maybe it's just as well.
All
right. So anyway, okay. So what are you working on now, Albert? Are you do you plan to write a book at any point, or what are you working on? Where can people find out?
I'm putting together something. Hopefully, I'll have a book with. Maybe I'll do several volumes. Who knows?
With the information you have, you could do several volumes.
Right. A lot of information.
Or like an almanac or something, or an encyclopedia of this stuff.
Yeah. That's excellent. Well, now where can
I'll keep you informed. I'm going to keep sending you these journals when I have them ready.
I really appreciate like that. Because I'd like to consider you part of our team here. A lot of people involved in the show will give us info. When we go out and look at stuff ourselves, it would be great. So where can people find out more about you? Your websites again?
Yeah, UFO info, and you can go to the Humanoid section. You can contact me on my email if they have any questions or they have any reports they want to share with me.
Very good. Okay, yep.
They should know that they're not alone. If they had an encounter, they're not alone. There's many other people that had, same or similar encounters.
That's an important thing to realize, and thank you for pointing that out. Okay, well, we're about done here, I'm afraid, with our conversation because it's been fascinating. I hate to let you go, but well, Albert, we're going to consider you part of the team, and thanks for joining us today. We look forward to many future visits.
Looking forward to it, and I'll be sending you some emails today so you can peruse them, okay?
Looking forward to that, and we'll put some information up on the Talking Points page. Very good. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, however you do that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Humanoids. All right.
Absolutely. Okay.
Have a good one.
Very good. Fascinating subject. Okay, I wanted to one or two announcements of our own here. We got. I want to tell you that our friend Phil Imbrogno, whom we've been talking about a lot on the show, has been scheduled for a very interesting talk at the Silas Bronson Library. If you're anywhere near Waterbury, Connecticut, on the 23rd of October, it's a Saturday, Phil's going to be talking about UFOs, a history of sightings in Connecticut and New York. And Phil is the one I was talking about. We interviewed him Saturday. A good friend of ours. He's involved in a lot of, I'll call it multiverse research, because he's involved in developing portals and things like this that we're trying to do as well. And again, this is October 23rd at the Silas Bronson Library, Waterbury, Connecticut. Phil is a science writer, a science educator, he's a chemist, former director of the Bowman Observatory in Greenwich, Connecticut, and very, very accomplished paranormal researcher.
All right, and don't forget about the annual Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, Saturday and Sunday, September 18th and 19th. There are Mothman tours, great food, interesting vendors and exhibits, and the Mothman Museum alone is worth the trip. We've been there ourselves, so check out mothmanlives.com. That's www.mothmanlives.com for details.
Absolutely. That's a lot of fun every year, and the Mothman was not a pleasant guy, but hey, have a great time at his festival. I can't promise you that he'll make a live appearance, but our friend Jeff Wamsley and the town of Point Pleasant organized that great event. Okay. Also, our websites. Check us out at www.behindtheparanormal.com. And many people have been asking where they can get my books locally here in the Blackstone Valley. You can check out the Museum of Work and Culture gift shop at Market Square in Woonsocket. And the gift shop has copies they were just resupplied of Turning Home, God, Ghosts, and Human Destiny, my latest book. Also, my previous book to that, Footsteps in the Attic. And my previous book to that, Faces at the Window. And also my other hat as a historian, Rhode Island, a genial history.
Your previous hat, and your previous book to that previous hat.
Yeah, well, there are quite a few. Anyway, this is what they've got. Ben, don't confuse me.
Okay.
All right. And Rhode Island, a genial history written by Glenn Laxton and me he's from Channel 12, a great historian as well.
All right, so many thanks to our producer, Craig Pelletier, and we'll see you right here next Monday, September 13th on WOON, 1240 AM, and www.onworldwide.com at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. My dad and I will take the hour to talk about what are ghosts.
All right. On our regular Sunday show on September 12th, 7 p.m. Eastern and 4 Pacific on CBS Radio in Boston, Detroit, and Seattle, and online at newskyradio.com and parax.com. Author and researcher Nigel Kerner will join us to discuss the true nature of gray aliens.
Alright, so don't forget our website, www.behindtheparanormal.com, so you can check out radio schedules for CBS stations and people that carry that station. And to the quote, Dad?
Okay, tonight we leave you with a quote attributed to the great science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke. Behind every man now alive stand 30 ghosts, for that is the ratio by which the dead outnumber the living.
See you next time.
Return to this radio frequency 167 hours from now for another edition of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.